Hey guys, welcome to Hargrave High Performance. Today we're going to go over 5 stability and 5 mobility exercises for overhead strength. So for field, court, any sort of sport that we're looking at, these exercises will be applicable. The key thing that we're trying to work out, especially for most of the population coming through school, working desk jobs, these sorts of things, we tend to get a little bit more kyphotic or a little bit stronger through the front and side. The issue around this is when we try to come up above the head, so say we're reaching for a ball, spoiling, whatever, if we don't have that ability to create strength and mobility to get the arms above head, we tend to start to overcompensate. So we'll get sort of, can be stiff or sort of overcompensating through areas like lower back. We tend to get hip, knee issues, that sort of thing. So I'm going to teach you these 5 mobility drills first that will pair with the stability as we try to open up the joints, but then try and find strength in these positions. Okay, so we touched on earlier around providing mobility before we can create the stability in those end ranges. So the key things that we're looking for, or where we're going to be experiencing a little bit more tension most of the time to restrict our range above the head, is through the lat muscles and then through thoracic extension, so through the upper back. So this is a really good drill. We'll work off the cable machine. We can use TRX. If you haven't got load, you can even use sort of wall space, whatever, but to try and really get length in the spine and just create that range above the head, you will feel where you're tightest in these positions. So what I want to do is chuck a little bit of weight on. You'll step back so there is resistance or there's a bit of length in the cable. And then from here, the whole body's going to try and remain relaxed. So when we do the mobility work, just working for inhale, exhales. And I like to go for 10 breaths, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And as you release the exhale, just feel like your whole body's releasing the length. So I've got my right arm on the cable, right foot is planted to the ground. And now I'm going to work into creating length through that lat, all the way through the oblique, and then trying to press my chest through to get a bit of that extension. I feel a nice big stretch up all through that side. In for 5, exhale for 5. And I'm just pressing through, stretching all through that side. And the beauty of this drill is you can really play around with the position of where you're tighter. So it's not just the lat, it might be pec, could be a little bit more oblique, could be a little bit more through the rhomboids, through the mid-back. So, you know, if it helps, if you can sort of twist around, feel a bit more of that bigger stretch position coming through the side. Press the chest through. The key thing is, again, that we're trying to release tension. So I'm not holding on to this, no tension in the arms. Use the breath to try and create length through the lat, and then thoracic extension, which will give us that range above the head. Okay, so we've got length through our lats, through our T-spine extension drill. So now we want to try and create strength. Now, when we're creating strength through the movement above our head, we want to work through what's called move through upward scapular rotation. So with that upward scapular rotation, it's a muscle called your serratus that will be the primary controller of that pattern. So we want to feel the tension up around the rib cage. For people that are a little bit stiffer through this position, when you work your way to the ground, as you try to move your arm above the head, sometimes we'll overcompensate through the back. So we want to make sure that we're engaged and we're locked in with the core and that the lower back doesn't move. Lighter dumbbells. So try and find that middle ground between, you'd rather go lighter than heavier, but you still need to have a little bit of load there that's going to allow the muscles to actually work as you work through the pattern. So I'm going to take a nice big breath in to start the movement, which will give me a bit of stability through the core. We'll just watch as my knuckles move towards my feet first. So I just follow that upward rotation pattern. So it's a nice through wrap and reach into a wide position to start off. Cool, and I want you to use the exhale, so you'll breathe in, use the exhale as you're coming up. Dumbbells will touch soft. Again, lower back stays engaged. The core stays engaged, so the lower back doesn't move. Now, if we're comfortable with this, the back's not moving, we're nice strong shoulder pattern, you work to more of an I position. Soft touch, you work your way through. So breathe in, breathe out as we work our way through. And we're aiming to always have that little bit of external rotation with this position. So the thumb will always sort of stay on the outside of the hand, which will allow the head of the shoulder to move nice and smooth in the mid-range of the socket. The next mobility drill we're going to work on is to lengthen through the pec minor. So pec minor is another internal rotator of the shoulder. So if we tend to get a little bit stiffer up from this position, again, it just inhibits our ability to move in a nice smooth motion above the head. So with this one, elbow will come up just higher than your shoulder, and you can use a rack, wall, whatever we want, something just to press against. Again, the core's got to stay locked in. We want no compensation through the back, and the chin stays in locked too. We don't want to compensate with the head posture. So from here, chin's in, core's engaged. Use your breath again, breathe in the stomach. As I exhale, just press a little bit firm against the palm and let my body just come forward. Cool, so the shoulder blade will pull behind, or get a nice big stretch or pull through that pec. Breathing in, breathing out. If I want to go a little bit deeper with it, I can pull my chin and just move my neck towards the other side. So if I'm a little bit tighter up through the sterno or up through the muscles through the neck, get a nice big stretch. Do the same, so nice 10 breaths, 5 in, 5 out, nice and easy. Cool, and then we'll start working again on strengthening up the area to allow us to get that range. Now we're going to work into an external rotation with an uppercut. So key with this is the external rotation. So remember, for some of us that are a little bit stiffer, what we're going to struggle with is to maintain the external rotation as we come up. The body's naturally going to pull to where we're stiffer and tighter, so we might pull inside. So we need to avoid that. So work into whatever range your body will allow you to get into, and then gradually over time, if you can hold the external rotation, we'll continue up to a full lockout. So I'll show you what we'll do. Nice and light. This doesn't need to be a heavy drill to start. Again, core's on. Little bit of resistance against the band, we pull external rotation. So the wrist is just outside the elbow, I don't need to be fully open. Once I'm outside the elbow will scoop forward and then lock out at the top. So it's a progression on from what we've done from those supine upward rotations. Cool, we're still getting nice, good serratus, shoulder blades moving through, but now we're getting a little bit more elevation when we get past this point. The trap will elevate slightly and we'll get to this nice strong point above the head. Again, if you can see, there's no movement of the trunk. Cool, we're getting really strong position through that shoulder, and again, maybe a little bit more extension through that T-spine, but that's what's very important for us to get that range whatever we're doing that high point. Okay, our next variation is going to be a thoracic extension with the roller. So important to understand that these mobility drills that I'm giving you guys, these aren't progressions, regressions. You just find good ones that work really well for you. So for here again, as we work our way through, we're not focusing so much on the strength through the upward rotation, but you'll feel the shoulder, the spine through that top point really stretch out. And again, those tighter points, maybe the lats or the pecs, we might feel released as we work into that position. So we set yourself up, just rock back onto the knee, and then the roller will start at the wrist position. And then as we roll through, so again, we always want to make sure we're externally rotated. So the palm is outside from the elbow, and I'll just slide my way through. And you can see my chest tips through the floor. Roll myself back, use the exhale to come out. And you can work in as deep and aggressive as you want with this. So for some guys that are really stiff, you might push out. That might be aggressive enough for you. Might get a nice good stretch position. As you can see, I can keep moving my body through, and that gives me a really nice good stretch through the upper back. So like all our mobility drills, 10 reps, 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale, just floss your body through it. Okay, next is a reverse floor press. So again, like the strength stuff, these are not really progressions, regressions. We just pick the perfect time to use them and always keep your body guessing. So we never sort of want 3 weeks over of the same exercise. So we'll set up from the back. Key with this is we're tucked in. Now I'm someone that's naturally a lot stiffer through my lat position, so it's a really good drill for me. If you're finding this is too easy, there's not a lot of tension with it, we can use something as a little bit more of a progression. But as soon as I set up with the flat back and I pull my forearms back towards the floor, I can already feel how much this actually opens up through my rib cage, through my chest, and that's what we're looking for. So chin's in a nice good spot. I'm going to take a breath through my stomach. So the belly rises, the ribs will stay down. As I exhale, I'm going to draw the stomach down and press, shoot the palms up, keeping everything flush on the ground. So we'll feel the muscles through the upper back contract, and then everything through that front side starts to lengthen, as does the lat, as we stay nice and strong, refraining from the ribs flaring as you move up the top. So we tuck in, brace through the core, exhale, shoot the arms up. Now if you're really, really stiff and we're having a lot of trouble keeping the lower back locked in as we press up, you can work your way to more of a Y position. So as we punch out, it's going to resist the elevation, too much tension from the top, allow us to get that good serratus, and then lower trap through the mid-back. And then as we start to get more comfortable when the length comes, press yourself and shoot up into that I position. Okay, this next exercise is an absolute killer for the thoracic spine, but again, we want to use a heavy weight. We've got to be really conscious on how well we can actually control the lockout of the elbows in particular, and just making sure that we're not putting too much strain through the lower back as we work our way into more of that thoracic extension. So you'll need a roll up and a plate. You'll set yourself up from the floor. And so when we're trying to work through this thoracic extension, I want you to think you've got 12 vertebrae, so through your spine, so little segments that work your way through the mid-back up towards to the neck to the shoulders. So you'll find between those 12 points where the stiff position is, and we can just sit there and just work your breaths into those different positions where you're tighter. There's no right or wrong. Everyone, if you're stiff, is going to be stiffer through different positions. So I'll start about mid-back, so find yourself a comfy spot, push my hips up a little bit, and you already start to feel that feels a little bit gritty to begin with. Then I'm going to get the plate so it's locked out, so my palms and my forearms are on. And again, I'm not bending, there's no tension in the arms, nice and strong. From here, I can lift my hips up slightly, using the breath in, out, allowing the plate to take me over. Cool, and I can already feel I'm a bit tighter at the bottom, so just shift my body, breathe in, out. Let the weight do the work. Oof. And as you work through that position again, you'll feel the back best stretch. Really just open up, but you're also going to feel any of those stiffer spots. Pec minor, pec, lat, everything will get length. So in terms of bang for your buck, is the best one we can use. This bad boy to help to open up that thoracic extension. Okay, and then we're going to pair this with a banded upward rotation to an elevation. So depending on where, again, your stiffness, mobility, stability levels are, will depend on how heavy the band is that you use and the range that you also work through. So really stiff guys or girls are going to work into band goes above the wrist, and we'll create nice square neutral spine. Wrists are outside the elbows. We'll create the upward rotation, but we can stop at about the point before the elevation happens, so where the elbows are just at the shoulder. Cool. If we're comfortable and you've got good control of your core and you want to open up all the way to the top, you will punch and then lock out above the head, and watch the wrists are outside, not inside through the shoulder, and we're always externally rotating as we come up. There's no rolling to the inside. So that's a good indicator to tell you where your range will be if you're starting to drive up and you can feel the elbow rolling out. You work to where that range allows you to get to, and then as we start to use the mobility drills in between to lengthen, over time you'll be able to eventually get into that strong end range. But we don't want to be loading if the arms are going into those poorer positions and we're just feeding into that strength, which is going to inhibit our ability again to get strong at that highest point. So our last two drills are going to be strength and mobility drills at the same time. So I've left these to last for a reason, because they are our heaviest loading and our most complex. And when we're doing them, we've got to be really strict at understanding that the mobility is probably more important in terms of what we're going to focus on than the stability for these actions. So we can always go super heavily loaded for the military press, which is what we'll do, and chin-ups. But if we manipulate it with a little bit more time under tension, higher volumes and lower load, can be really effective drills for us, like I said, to get strength and mobility at the same time. But play caution to how much load you're using. You would rather go lighter than heavier as we work into these positions. So if you can, you'll set yourself up on the bench. I've got light dumbbells on today. Chin is in, Cool, so there's 3 points connected to the bench with my spine. Now, if you check out my lower back from here, I'm quite extended, so there's quite a big arc there. What I'm gonna aim to do to help me get stretched through the pec and through the front side is really tuck underneath and pull the rib down. Cool, so now it's just challenging even for me to hold this position. My back's starting to jack up. I'll exhale, press. Cool, so the arms will come up. I still get the upward rotation, but the back is not extending to get me there. So what I'm feeling, again, is length through the front. 3 out, using the breath. Like I said, inhale to give you stability from the bottom, lower back stays flat. Exhale helps press the rib cage down, allows that upward scap rotation to happen, and then we get length through those stiff areas. So low load, high repetition, so higher volumes, anywhere from like 10 even to 20 reps as you work your way through, and then slower tempos so we can again focus on creating the length and then the stability. Alrighty, our final exercise, the toughest, the most rewarding if we do this correctly, could also be the most detrimental if we're trying to load this too much, because all we'll do is get strength. We're not going to open up anything, and if we're tighter from the front side, we're probably just going to give us more grief in terms of inhibiting our ability to get that strength above the head. So what we're going to do is we'll set up in a supine chin-up position. So we've already got more of that external rotation, so we're grabbing underneath. So again, the palms are outside the wrist position. Cool. We don't want to load concentrically, so we don't want the muscle to be contracting as it shortens. We only want to load the eccentric. And what we can do here is get strength, but we really rip through the lat and all those internal rotators to allow us to get length and strength at the same time. So I lock in, cool, squeeze my shoulders back. I'm going to jump, and as I jump, I want my shoulders to stay pinned back. I don't want to have myself roll forward. So, locked back, I'm going to jump, easy, up, 5, 4, 3, 2, and fully relax at the bottom to get that full stretch. So again, belly's locked in, shoulders are back, elbows are inside, brace, jump, cool, shoulders are back, 5, 4, 3, 2, fully lengthen. On that lengthen, it's like what we did earlier with that lat stretch. Let gravity do the work. So we're just letting the body weight sink to the ground. By the time we're at that bottom position, the hands are keeping us stable and gripped up on the bar, but all the rest of the muscles are relaxed, which allows us to get that really good length and range through the spine. Okay guys, so there you go. So 5 mobility and stability drills. Now you can pair them together. I've paired similar exercises that will work similar patterns just to help you feel a little bit more as to replicate how we can open up certain areas and then stabilize certain muscles to create that range. But like I said, every exercise is going to be different, and some are going to be really good for some of you, some aren't going to be as effective as for others. So pick the exercise, pair them as you will, but again, the focus is always on creating the length first and then creating the strength with them.